Let's talk about Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson, the Zen master, arguably the best coach in the game, has a memoir entitled 11 Rings, The Soul of Success. In it, he addresses the MJ versus Kobe Bryant comparison. So let's take a look at what he says. One of the biggest differences between the two stars, from my perspective, was Michael's superior skills as a leader. Though at times he could be hard on his teammates, Michael was masterful at controlling the emotional climate of the team with the power of his presence. Kobe had a long way to go before he could make that claim. He talked a good game, but he yet to experience the cold truth of leadership in his bones as Michael had.
Ooh.
Let's just digest that for a moment, shall we? Stephen A., I'll start with you first. This is from the man who probably knows him best. Is Phil Jackson right?
Yes, he is. And let me say this. I applaud Phil Jackson for his candor, his honesty, and more importantly, that particular quote, while completely accurate and in context, is not indicative of what the entire article had to say about Phil Jackson and the excerpts from his book, because he was very complimentary of Kobe, but he's just acknowledging that when you're comparing him to who an individual widely believed to be the best ever, that these are the discrepancies. There's a schism, there's a divide that exists that can't be ignored. Talked about the size of Michael Jordan's hands, how Michael Jordan was bigger, he was stronger, he had broader shoulders, how he would fight through screens and had this laser focused style, just laser focus when he really want to lock in on somebody defensively, whereas Kobe was a finesse kind of player and took chances, and sometimes he got burned for it. He was using those other examples as well. But the reason why I want to applaud Phil Jackson is because when he wrote the book, the other book, after he had retired from the Lakers the first time, I didn't like what he said because I felt like, he sort of donned Kobe out in a certain way, which I didn't think was cool. I don't find that to be the case in this book at all. I think he's incredibly fair. I think he's incredibly accurate. More importantly, nobody would know this better than Phil. We're in no position to even question the veracity of his words. This man is an 11-time champion. 6 of them came with Michael Jordan. The other 5 came with Kobe Bryant. There is no human being alive more qualified to compare the two than Phil Jackson. It is just that simple. Now, as you break down and dissect what he said about leadership, he is absolutely 1,000% correct, and I don't believe Kobe Bryant would deny it one bit. When Kobe Bryant first came into the league, there were I'm not talking about as a rookie, but when they were en route to winning those championships, Skip, there was Shaq, there was Robert Horry, there was Rick Fox, there was Ron Harper, there was all of these guys. Well, they were grown men who had been in the league before him, who had accomplished things in their own right. They didn't need to follow Kobe. So Kobe was a kid, and what Kobe didn't do very well initially was ingratiate himself. I know for a fact there were times that dudes were out partying after a game, knowing they were going to have a couple of days off afterwards, and Kobe was in his room either watching tapes or playing PlayStation. That's how it was in the first few years of his career. He wasn't interested in that stuff. Never was. That's how Kobe operated. He was independent. He marched to his own beat, and he was a recluse, virtually a loner. Michael Jordan has always been one of those guys. He might impose his will. He might be the boss and all of this other stuff. But whether it's smoking cigars, playing cards, or whatever, Michael Jordan was one of those individuals that always went about the business of successfully ingratiating himself with people and allowing them to do the same with him. So he was more of a people person. As a result, he was more relatable. And as a result, he was easier to follow because you knew him, you knew what he was made of, you knew what he was about, but more importantly, he was cool. That's what they said. MJ, black, it didn't matter. He was MJ. We could follow him. That came later with Kobe. It came much, much earlier with MJ.
I'm very surprised you're not defending your man Kobe on any count here. And there were several other scathing accusations. They're not observations, I should say, about Kobe here. So you're 100% co-signing on all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't find it, but here's the deal. I don't find it scathing. I find it in comparison to MJ. Had he just been talking about Kobe with no comparison, then I can get the point. But you're comparing him to the greatest ever. And in comparison to Michael Jordan, all Phil Jackson did was highlight the difference. And that difference is well known in NBA circles.
Yeah, he even said, Stephen A., and I'm just going to paraphrase so we don't have to stop and read the whole quote, but he said when Michael's shot was off, he wouldn't do what Kobe does repeatedly, which is keep forcing up the shots and until his luck changes. So the point is, with Michael, he would do other little things to impact the game and turn it into a W other ways. Kobe's just going to keep gunning. He's just going to keep shooting. And again, Michael, a much better defender, according to Phil. And then he describes, as you say, Michael as a natural-born leader. And Kobe's just not in his genetics. He wasn't born to be a leader. I think Kobe has worked hard the last couple of years at being a leader. I just don't know that it comes very easily for Kobe. So here's what I want our younger viewers to grasp here. You're right. In the end, it's not even fair to compare Kobe to Michael Jordan. Yet the younger generations, maybe even Carrie, I'm not sure what you think, that would you put Kobe in the same sentence with Michael Jordan?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
They wouldn't do that.
But we do have a lot of younger viewers who believe that Kobe has proven to be better than Michael Jordan. He is not. He's not in the same stratosphere with Michael in many ways, tangibly and intangibly. Is Kobe the greatest we've seen since Michael? I say yes.
Yes.
Now, LeBron's on course to maybe be that guy, but we need to see more from LeBron. But what Phil is driving home here, and these, as you know, Stephen A., these are written quotes. He didn't have just a bad day on the radio where he just got a little loose-lipped. He had lots of time to reflect on written quotes. And the bottom line is that Kobe doesn't belong in Michael Jordan's league. And I don't think he ever will, Stephen A.
Well, listen, he probably never will, but let's be clear, there's no shame in it.
Nope.
He's Michael Jordan, man.
Sure.
He's Michael Jordan. And so when you look at it and you look at what he had to endure to get to where he had to go, how he had to get through the bad boy Pistons, how he had to wait his turn from the Magic Bird era and all of that other stuff. Michael earned his stripes. That's not to say that Kobe Bryant did not. But at the same time, when you come into the league and your teammate is Shaquille O'Neal, that goes a long, long way. We can't even remember the players that Michael Jordan played with when he first came into the league. And also, let me bring this up, too, as well, because this is a tribute and a credit to Kobe, who I know obviously very, very well. Kobe Bryant, that whole Eagle County, Colorado thing,
Yep.
that was when the shift took place. Because what happened is that you had nobody wanted to see this man suffer. But at the same time, you did have a question mark in terms of who is he, because he was a loner. And so what happened is that whether it was Shaq or MJ or anybody else, people would have jumped up to support and praise him simply because they felt like they knew them. With Kobe, you didn't feel like you knew him at the time. And so when Kobe sat back and looked at it and saw himself isolated in terms of having to deal with things by himself, I think it was a red light. And if it was a flashpoint in his life where he sat there and said, I got to do a better job of letting people know who I really am and what I stand for. And now Kobe may be one of the most authentic and real athletes you'll ever come across. He's not shy about what he has to say. He's incredibly articulate. His intelligence is off the chart, and all of that stuff comes oozing out because he recognizes there's nothing to fear. Before, he used to fear things. He doesn't do that anymore. It just took him more time to get to a place that Michael Jordan was born to be in. That's all.